Hello everyone online. So, the Donald Trump administration, you could say, is scaring others. And you could say it's in America's interest. Why suddenly say that Canada should become the fifth state of the US, and now they're saying Greenland should become the fifth state of the US? So, is there suddenly this ambition for territorial expansion? Actually, in previous videos, I've mentioned that he is deliberately emulating President McKinley. There are three policies. The first is to raise tariffs to 45%, and the second is to take Hawaii. The third is Cuba and the Philippines, and then building the Panama Canal. You see, he is thoroughly following these 3 points, but the problem is that this policy is from the late 19th century to the early 20th century, the so-called Imperial 1.0 policy, which simply doesn't work now. Isn't it just offending people? This one, King Charles III, has already invited Donald Trump to visit the UK. He plans to offer him a secret proposal to invite the United States to join the Commonwealth. This is a move to entice Donald Trump. When Donald Trump wants Charles to make Canada the fifth state of the United States, you speak English, right? You were a British colony before, right? Can you join the British Commonwealth? This is just a joke, right? Donald Trump, this sounds pretty good, so that's it. Donald Trump has said many times that he wants Canada to become the fifth state of the United States. Actually, adding the trade war tariffs is a big mess, suddenly angering the Canadian public, and they won't travel. The Canadian Prime Minister once encouraged citizens to travel to other countries. He himself was supposed to travel to the United States, but cancelled and went to British Columbia. Instead, along with another Canadian, a Canadian applying for a work visa in the United States, was detained for 12 days. The number of Canadians returning from the United States in February by air decreased by 13%. Canada has an annual trade surplus with the United States of approximately $180 to $190 billion. However, the money spent by Canadians in the US, including studying there, amounts to $50 to $60 billion US dollars. In reality, the actual US deficit with Canada is only about 30 to 40 billion. In February, the number of travelers returning to Canada from the US by land decreased by 23%, a larger drop than by air. Canada has long been a major source of tourists to the US. Last year, it was 20.2 million. This is clearly the largest, because the two countries are so close, and the US has many places to visit, with warmer weather, so people often go there for fun. According to the US Travel Association, if Canadian tourists decrease significantly, it results in a loss of $2 billion US dollars and 14,000 jobs. If it decreases by 50%, it would mean a loss of $10 billion US dollars. The White House announced that Vice President Vance's wife, Usman, will visit Greenland on March 27th and 29th. She plans to visit historical sites and attend a dog sled race. No one invited her, she just decided to go on her own. This Usman is known for causing trouble. She's even more erratic than Donald Trump. Let me show you. White House Security Council spokesperson Chiu Si-hua. The purpose of the visit is to establish a partnership that respects Greenland's right to self-determination and promote economic cooperation. The delegation is here to see the snow bridge and sleds. Besides, Usman is already the vice president's wife, and you can travel on your own. But she didn't. She brought along the National Security Advisor, and the Minister of Energy, Walls. It's quite obvious that this is about checking out those defense matters, looking at other countries' defense issues, while the Minister of Energy is there to look into energy issues. They also plan to visit the U.S. military's Pitufei Black Space Base, located in the northern part of Jining. There is already a U.S. military base there. The soon-to-be departing Jining Autonomous Government, on March 23rd, expressed strong dissatisfaction, stating that this arrangement is pressuring Greenland and is provocative. What exactly are they doing there? The organizers of the event said they never invited anyone to participate. The Donald Trump administration, their biggest trait is that they lie blatantly, without any regard for their credibility. On March 23rd, out of the blue, he announced, "My wife is going to Greenland. And there are a lot of points. I can't let her have all the fun, so I'm going too." Checking on the Vice President of Greenland. Greenland, located in the Arctic region, is a primary target for adversaries threatening the United States and Canada. The Danish government hasn't taken Greenland's security issues seriously, which is quite peculiar. Greenland is the world's largest island, and Denmark being a country with just a few million people. How do you expect Denmark to handle Greenland's security issues? What do you think? Greenland is a vast and wild place. Indeed. So the United States requested that Greenland, Denmark, allowed them to set up an airbase in Greenland. Didn't they set up an airbase? They set up an airbase with radar to monitor anything flying in from the north, right? Possibly to intercept missiles attacking the United States and Canada. So you set it up there, but what more can you do? Right? Do you station a large military force in Greenland or what? I really don't get it. What do you want to do? Now, does the United States need to station a large military force there? It's very expensive to station troops there. How many people are you going to station there? Stationing troops there is 10 times more expensive than in Germany. Everything needs to be widespread. Moreover, you also have to provide allowances to the soldiers living in such a place. Do you want to station 1,000 people there, 2,000 people there? If you have 1,000 or 2,000 people there and someone comes to attack you, wouldn't you be completely overwhelmed every day? I don't get it. All right. On the 23rd, a statement was issued, and on the 28th, they went to the Pitufei Space Base for a briefing and to meet with the local soldiers. He criticized the neglect by successive Danish and American governments, which allowed enemies to take advantage and advance their own priorities in Greenland. I have no idea what he's talking about, no idea at all. First, China wanted to establish a presence in Greenland, but it didn't succeed. And now China has no presence in Greenland. So who exactly are these enemies, huh? Russia doesn't have that kind of power, right? And wasn't Russia supposed to be good friends with Donald Trump? I don't understand what he's saying about how enemies are advancing their own priorities in Greenland. Greenland accepted a visit from Fox, and then Denmark controlled Greenland, but they didn't do their job well, and weren't a good friend either. These are baseless accusations. How is Denmark not a good friend? Oh, because you asked them for Greenland and they didn't immediately comply, they're not a good friend. If I ask you for your table at home and you don't give it to me, does that mean you're not a good friend? Is that the GQ line? This man's a crisis. Donald Trump said, why is that? It's because the people of Greenland invited us. We've received many invitations. Who invited you? Greenland has a total population of 52,000 people. Donald Trump reiterated that Greenland might become a part of the United States in the future. Surprised? In terms of international security, Greenland is very important, with Russia and China right outside Greenland. I don't really understand. Outside Greenland, there are Chinese and Russian ships. Firstly, there aren't many Chinese ships, but there are more Russian ships in the Arctic. In the Caspian Sea, outside this ridge, there are ships moving back and forth. Are you going to allow them to pass or not? Or what? Are you going to deploy a fleet here? I'm really asking, even Donald Trump's fleet can't drive people out of territorial waters, right? When people are passing harmlessly, you can't drive them away. Outside territorial waters, you can't drive them away, even if you send more ships to China and Russia. So this isn't just a Greenland issue. It's a question of the entire Arctic Ocean, and how many ships you have. Russia has spent a lot of money developing the Arctic Ocean. That's true. The US already has Alaska, which is enough to counter them. Isn't that right? So why involve Greenland? And how do you plan to stop other people's ships? I don't understand. And are you saying that having fog protection means you can take other people's things? Greenland seems to be somewhat abandoned. This is really intriguing. Like Greenland is in a place where no one goes, similar to Antarctica. Who would go there and leave? Those living in the Viking tunnels. There's no way to live in Greenland, but you can live in Iceland. In Greenland, it's not possible to live. Not receiving proper care. How do you want to take care of it? How many people are there in Alaska now? Alaska only has about 2 million people. The American delegation went there out of friendship. On March 5th, Donald Trump spoke in Congress, stating that Greenland is crucial to American security and is willing to make Greenland the 51st state of the United States. This is quite sensitive. Why? How can Greenland, with 52,000 people, become a state? To become a state, there needs to be a state government, right? Well, so then it would have one representative and 2 senators, right? Greenland, with its 52,000 people, how can it become a state? That's like 2 streets in North Point, Hong Kong, with that many people. All right. Back in January, his son, Donald Trump Jr., visited Greenland, didn't he? Donald Trump continued to propose that Greenland should be annexed. The recent election results in Greenland. The party opposing joining the United States won by a large margin. 85% of the residents oppose joining the United States. Some don't want to join the US, so why is that? What are you doing? On March 23rd, the Prime Minister of Greenland criticized the visit by US officials as highly aggressive. Now, what does this resemble? Let me tell you. At that time, it was like, hey, boss, Lee here, right? It was under the protection of Austria. The Archduke, who was the heir of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, went there to inspect, and people felt it was provocative. As a result, killing him led to the First World War. That is what happened. That's exactly what it was. Clearly stated. Ushamanji and Vals were not invited to attend any meetings. The Danish Prime Minister issued a statement saying that Denmark and Greenland did not extend an invitation to the US. This refuted Donald Trump's claim that the people of Greenland invited the US to visit. The Greenland Autonomous Government issued a statement on March 24th stating that the Greenland government did not invite anyone to visit. The Prime Minister of Greenland further stated that Greenland's integrity and democracy must be respected. Foreign interference in the visit of the US delegation is not allowed, and it cannot be considered a private visit. The Danish Prime Minister stated that the recent pressure from the United States on Greenland is unacceptable, emphasizing that we will resist this pressure. Fredrickson countered, saying that it's not just anyone, it's the Vice President going, elevated to the Vice President going. You can't bring so many official representatives for a private visit. Denmark has received support from Nordic countries and the EU in addressing this pressure. So what are you going to do? What exactly do you want? That's the question. Hey, this is your ally. And behind it, it's part of the EU. Can you invade the EU? Regarding Greenland, they mentioned it was due to security issues. Let me tell you, if you need to increase bases, and they allow you to increase bases, then it's secure. What's the problem? They even send more ships over. But the Greenlanders are quite particular. They really like it. You send more ships, send more troops because it means more business. With 52,000 people, you definitely have to help them buy things, right? All right, secondly, they are expanding production. In a 2023 survey, out of 34 critical raw materials, 25 are found in Greenland. With such a large area, of course, they have them. Greenland has 1.5 million tons of soil. It's almost the same as the 1.8 million tons in the United States, while China has 44 million tons. Let's look at the chart of known rare earths. This is China, and China is first, followed by Vietnam, Brazil, and others. This one is Russia. Canada and Australia have a lot, while Greenland has this much, according to the chart. Greenland has only a little, aside from rare earths, right? There are copper, lithium, oil, titanium, and gold deposits located in the northeast and central east. They discovered a nickel mine. There's a nickel con. Let me tell you, Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos are using nickel here, which is very important. Nickel, of course, is used in our coins, and the $3 lithium batteries use nickel, which is lithium, nickel, and cobalt. 80% of the world's cobalt comes from Congo. If you want to fight, and the US wants to crush people, you should control and advance to annex Congo. Congo would welcome you. Become the fifth, a state of the US, and you would monopolize the supply of cobalt. Then Japan's $3 lithium batteries would be in big trouble. Greenland is located in the northern New Yuan region, which is the world's largest undeveloped resource. Its geographical location is excellent. Let's talk about its original state, shall we? It's along the coast, on the east side, and the west side. Currently, there are several mines here, and these mines are well positioned. The United States Geological Survey estimates there are still 17.5 billion barrels of untapped crude oil near Greenland, along with a significant amount of natural gas. But, due to environmental reasons, they are not allowed to be extracted. Greenland's Minister of Trade and Raw Materials stated that interest in Greenland's mining industry has increased over the past 5 years, but actual development remains slow, with no one starting operations. I want you to take a look at that. This gold mining, those in Greenland, that is, in the remote areas of Canada and Alaska, mining can only be done for 4 months a year. You have to wait until the snow has melted and the sun has thawed the permafrost before you can dig. Otherwise, the permafrost is frozen as hard as iron. Hey, and then the weather gets cold so quickly and you're here. Is it because you can't hire workers? You have to go to these places. For every worker, right? I think it costs over $100,000 a month. This is an expansion. Oh, not just tens of thousands a month. And how do you transport it out? In reality, it's not feasible. It's been talked about for so many years. Just digging in these places. The environment is extremely harsh, with many stormy weather conditions that are difficult to control. When the weather changes, you're in big trouble. Resolutely find something to do. Resolutely find something to do. The Greenland government hopes to increase revenue from procurement to reduce the $600 million aid from Denmark. The US is considering taking out the $600 million. Hey, 50,000 people with $600 million. That's a subsidy of $12,000 per person. Is Greenland being supported by the Danish government? I don't even know what these places are for. If you really have a lot of money, isn't it best to have some income from resistance? Look at these places, I ask you, are you scared? When the Vikings discovered these two places, they were afraid that others would find out and deliberately mislead people. The habitable place was called Iceland, and the uninhabitable place was called Greenland. They tricked people into going to Greenland to suffer. That's why Greenland is an uninhabitable place. Now, only the public sector, funded by the Danish government, and the fishing industry are there. Only the local indigenous people, who are mainly fishermen, can live there. What's the point of having such a place? That's where this segment ends.